Airline pilots face several risks and challenges in their professional careers. However, with dedication, resilience and the right strategies, these risks can be managed and turned into opportunities. If you want to know what are some of the risks that we as pilots take, stay tuned until the end of this video. Greetings, you handsome skylovers! Welcome back to the channel. Mental fatigue and stress. Let's start with number one. I decided to start with this one as number one because it's the most obvious. The high pressure nature of the job. So what do I mean by that? Well, you know how they say that the aviation is the safest transport in the world? Well, that is for a reason. And the reason for this is the professional airline pilots. A word that you're going to hear me repeat in this video several times, it's going to be safety. So the pilot is responsible for that safety, which means that he has to be ready for any situation at any time that might arise in the cockpit. Dealing with potential failures, dealing with adverse weather, dealing with high traffic. In order for you to be on top of your game, you have to be well prepared for your flight. Even if sometimes you don't feel at your best, you still have to prepare for the flight, and you have to take each flight very responsibly, which in one way or another is going to exhaust your mental capacity, and you will end up fatigued. Sometimes we as pilots have 4, 5 or even 6 legs or flights in the day, which means that we are going to be really tired at the end of all those flights. Now, the best thing to deal with that is obviously rest. Of course, everybody has his different way of resting. Some people like to sleep, others relax by watching a movie. For someone else, it could be to go for a walk in the nature. And obviously many more. The important thing is, we as pilots have to have a good rest in order to be fully ready for our next adventure. Let's continue with number 2. In the previous episode I made a statement which could have offended a few people. A lot of pilots become, well, fat. However, I purposely did it like this because I wanted to make a point. The physical risk. So in the cockpit, pilots are sitting, I'd say, around 95% of the time, and then, as we discussed reason number 1, you end up really tired. So then how do you relax? You go to your hotel room or your home and you stay in your bed, and this means that it's very easy to become unhealthy. Another potential physical risk is, of course, the exposure to radiation. Now, this subject is so vast that it deserves an episode on its own, but radiation could be harmful to you, and we as pilots are exposed to it, so be mindful of that. To overcome these risks, it would be a good idea for the pilot to have a healthy lifestyle, to follow the recommended safety protocols and guidances to minimize the radiation, and of course, if you have doubts that something is wrong, a medical check with the doctor is always a good idea. Okay, risk number 3, the responsibility for safety. We already mentioned some of the things that we risk when we're flying, and we said that this is because of safety. But these are just some of it. Other would include stay up to date with the latest documentation, with the latest regulations. So of course, there is always the risk that you might miss something. But then again, we are two in the cockpit, and the airline companies have really good safety culture. They keep you updated with all the latest information, they give you all the books that you need, they give you a lot of exercises and trainings, which are again some of the things that we in aviation do to differentiate us as the safest transport in the world. For some reason this sounded to me like an advertisement for flying, but in any case it's true, so there you go. Risk number 4, the risk of becoming a zombie. I'm talking about sleep deprivation. Yeah, you're not going to look like a Hollywood zombie, but you are going to look pretty bad if you deteriorate your sleeping. Now, regarding the cargo flying, cargo pilots fly primarily during the night.
Based on my personal experience.
So if you wake up early in the morning, let's say 9, 10 o'clock, and you have to be in front of your hotel room at, let's say, 1 o'clock, now waking up at 9 in the morning and falling asleep at 6 p.m. is not an easy task. So you do realize that it's going to be really hard for you to fall asleep. There are a lot of different ways in which you can improve your sleep routine. There are different apps that help you track your sleep, and of course there are different techniques to go to sleep. There are many things you could do. However, I do want to mention that this is very important because the sleep will bring you energy and will make you fresh for your next flight. Okay, let's go with number 5, the competitive nature of the industry. Why is that risky? Well, sometimes we might think that we are ready for something when we are actually not. So to be an airline pilot requires a lot of knowledge. Sometimes we might think that we have it, but we are actually subjective and we need a little bit more to improve ourselves. I'm talking of course about when we are in a job interview, in the technical interview or in the simulator. Which means that if there are 10 places for a job and we are 20 pilots, half of us would not make it. Of course, this can be said about any profession. However, if you want to find a better job with better roster, better salary, the employer would naturally pick the best pilots who fit for his needs. Of course, if you don't pass your job interview, you can be a little bit bummed out. But in the immortal words of Rocky Balboa, it's not important how hard you hit, but how much you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done! Oh! Anyway, my point is, take it as a challenge. Take it as a challenge to become better as a pilot, as a professional, just better overall. Number 6, fatigue. Now we talked about the mental fatigue, but let's talk about the physical fatigue. In some of the previous subjects we did mention that you might have unpleasant schedule, meaning that some flights could be during the night, some could be during the early morning, some could be late in the afternoon. Now these irregular schedules can make you physically fatigued. Your body needs to recover. Maintaining nutrition, staying hydrated, and some relaxation exercises could never harm. Number 7. Some more health risks. So as a professional pilot, you might end up in a very exotic places. Which means that depending on where you're flying, you might consider, for example, vaccination. I know that this is a tricky subject with the whole COVID thing, but it's an option, so you have to consider it. Get familiar with the health risks at the location you're flying to. And of course, if you know that the risk is really high, a health insurance could be an option. Number 8. The personal life balance. This is most probably the biggest price you have to pay as a pilot. The risk of straining personal relationships because of the nature of the job. And the reason for that is you are a pilot. Pilot is equal to travel. So that means being away from home. So yeah, that is a risk. However, in today's modern day of aviation, there are a lot of operators that provide you of the choice of having a different roster. As well, you as a pilot have to think to yourself which roster would be the most appropriate for the situation you are in. You might prefer to work for a certain period of time and they stay home for a certain period of time. It might be that you want to fly long-haul flights from, let's say, Los Angeles to Tokyo. It could be that you might want to have a base. So this is really personal. However, if you communicate with your family and your friends about your roster, and if they really care for you and if they really love you, they will understand. They will know that this is your profession, this is something that you love, there is a lot of passion into it. So if they really love you, they will understand. However, you as well have to understand that they might have a typical job from 9 to 5, and this lifestyle could be challenging for them. I try to spend as much as quality time with my family and my friends as possible as I can. Sometimes flying is even more fun. But yeah, prioritizing your relationships is a key for your well-being. Risk number 9. The financial challenge. In the previous episode we talked a lot about pilots, salary, money and debt. So if you want to learn more about it, I would recommend to watch that episode. However, in general, to become a pilot is quite expensive and some of us, like me, we had to take a loan or a debt in order to pay for our education and of course fulfill our dreams to fly. So having a budget and planning for financial stability could be a good idea. Now something that I do that keeps me calm is having some money stored for emergency. After all, the way I see it, there are many things that could happen in life in general, so storing some money just in case is for me a good idea.
It's gone, it's all gone.
And this brings us to number 10. Unforeseen events. Now, I'm not going to get into many details, I'm just going to mention one thing. COVID-19. There is a quote by Niccolò Machiavelli that I really love. And this is true in life in general. There are always unforeseen things. So staying informed with the industry trends and changes that are happening is always a good idea. And my advice to you would be to always look at those changes as challenges. as opportunities for growth and innovation. That way, no matter what happens, you will always be ready. Just remember that with determination, a positive mindset, a willingness to grow, pilots can overcome all of those risks. So Skylovers, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you like it. I hope that you gained a new perspective about the risks that we as airline pilots face. If you like this video, you could share, subscribe, comment, I don't know. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.